We're at the halfway point of Season 5. The 5th episode begins by telling us that money buys silence. Whose silence has been bought? The end of the episode may imply that Lester's wife Lorraine's silence has been bought. But what's funny is it doesn't focus on where the money is coming from. Nicky ran the Velvet Room, but he was in dry cleaning. The Velvet Room was around from 100 years ago. Who passed it down to Nicky? The real money that runs the Velvet Room was from the rich and powerful, which are represented this season by the billionaires. Who made a very generous offer for Oliver's apartment? Well, it must have been the billionaires, right? They are the only ones who would have the money to do so. Who's buying up all the apartments that Ursula mentions is making people move out of the Arconia? The billionaires. Who can afford to have a new robot sent over minutes after LESTR was destroyed? The billionaires. Yet in an episode with so many characters, even Oscar's dad showed up. Jose, where you been? Who didn't appear? The billionaires. And I won't be silent about it. Let's solve Only Murders in the Building. Season 5, Episode 5, Tongue-Tied. Thwarted in their investigative podcast plans, Mabel and Oliver look for help from the Arconia support staff as Charles dines with another suspect and gets caught up in catching more than he bargained for. We'll be breaking down each episode for clues, suspects, and red herrings on the hunt to learn who killed LESTR, who killed Nicky the Neck, whose finger is it, and who poisoned Winnie the dog. We have not forgotten. Justice for Winnie! Spoilers for the first 4 seasons and the first 5 episodes of Season 5 of Only Murders in the Building. If you haven't seen all these episodes, pause this video. Create a Last Gasp account and start swiping. You need to find your Loretta. And then come back and watch. Use the timestamp below to jump to the topic or subject that you would like to listen to. Skip past things you're not interested in. We always look at the CCEE credit clue Easter eggs. In the opening credits, Howard's walking with LESTR. Plus, if you look at the shadow of flying mushrooms and food over Charles's apartment, you'll know that he's great at mouth catching. In the closing credits, you'll see the artwork honoring LESTR made out of garbage from the night he died. Gut milk pellets, and Charles's profile from Last Gasp. Hey, I've got a poll up on YouTube, so if you go to our YouTube post page, I ask you guys who is the killer. We're at the halfway point. In Season 4, Episode 5, there was that awkward interaction between Marshall and Glenn, which let us, the audience, know that, hey, Marshall had just grown this beard. Stuntman Glenn knew him. It was kind of a flashing red light that said Marshall's involved in this. Well, we're at the halfway point here. Who do you think is the killer? The options are one of the billionaires, one of the widows. Is it an Arconia newbie, or someone from City Hall? At the time that I'm recording this, there are over 400 votes. And oh my gosh, someone from City Hall is in the lead. They've barely appeared in this season, and those 2 characters haven't had any effect on the story. Why do you guys think someone from City Hall is the villain? Can you believe we're at the halfway point already of Season 5? I have to ask you, I am a small YouTube channel, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I need you to subscribe. Click that subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, I need you to hit the like button and comment on every video. Again, if you're a small YouTube channel like mine, YouTube kind of ignores you and doesn't do anything for you because they think you don't matter. I need your help. Please subscribe. If you enjoy this, tell a friend. If you're on audio podcast, same thing. Spotify, Apple Podcast, they don't like us small podcasts. Please subscribe. Reach out to us on social media at PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook.com/PHQ, Blue Sky. I love hearing your theories and your thoughts. And hey, let's get to a big theory and thought right here at the top. The Grand Arconia theory. So the Velvet Room has been open for over a century. The rich and powerful have been gathering undercover, under the building, for multiple generations. If suddenly a murder happened on the premises, they would want it hushed up. The rich and powerful would want the murder silenced and take attention away from the Arconia. Perhaps that's why in Season 1, the Tim Kono toxology report was not submitted, even though Detective Williams thought it had been. Maybe that's why Tim Kono's phone never ended up in IT. Perhaps the end the podcast note was to stop the podcast from looking at the Arconia. Maybe you ask yourself, did LESTR write the end the podcast note because he knew about the gambling down in the Velvet Room? Well, never say never, but if you look at the R's, the letter R in the end of the podcast note, it doesn't match the R that are in Lester's ledger. Again, that may not prove anything, but I don't think he wrote it. And just because you can't turn away from any clue, if you look at the murder board that Oliver and Vince Fish put together, that's right, some of those note cards have backwards 3s as E's. Let's keep moving on. Let's keep going on with the Grand Arconia theory. So jump to the night that Lester and Nicky died. We are told there were 5 birds in the Velvet Room. Nicky was 1, Camilla White was 2, Bash Steed was 3, Jay was 4. Who was the 5th bird? In my opinion, there are probably only 3 logical options for who that 5th bird would be. The mayor, Sofia, or Althea. The mayor makes a lot of sense. There are cops involved. You can't fight City Hall. He would make sense being the person there. I think Sofia is kind of a fun idea because they're looking for who the 5th person is. But if you look at the murder board, Sofia's picture is on the murder board with Nicky. So it's like the 5th person's already there. Althea, this is an interesting one. She must have some money if you have all those 1 to 5 plays, don't you think? So those are the 3 most likely 5th birds in my opinion. But this is a murder mystery. We have to consider everybody. Let's look at characters I'm not considering for the 5th bird. I'm leaving out Lester's wife, Lorraine. Maybe that would seem silly. I'm not sure Lester would refer to his wife as a bird. Of course, that could be completely wrong. What do birds do? Sing. What does Lorraine do? She's an opera singer. I'm leaving out Randall as a possible 5th bird. I don't assume Randall would have the money or the power to be invited to the Velvet Room, but people do work in the Velvet Room. Perhaps he was working as a dealer. Perhaps he was part of the entertainment. He's a musician. I'm not thinking of characters like Vince Fish. Vince lives in a rent-controlled apartment. You wouldn't assume somebody in a rent-controlled apartment could afford to gamble in the Velvet Room. Now, what about Teddy Demas? Teddy Demas, we knew he was a criminal. We knew he was fencing jewelry and watches and things like that. Could he have a tie to the mob? I got this great feedback from Alexis, who wrote, Nicky's body was in a freezer, right? Where would a freezer be located? Maybe in a Demas deli. I like that thought, but still, I don't have Teddy Demas as the 5th bird. Who do you guys think is the 5th bird? Now, the one thing we do know about the 5th bird is that the billionaires know who the 5th bird is. Yet they aren't turning that person into the cops, and they're not revealing that person's identity to the podcast trio. Why not? Now, there could be a scenario with the classic everyone did it murder. I don't want to spoil certain famous murder mysteries, but sometimes murder mysteries have an answer where they're all guilty. They're all in on it. I have said in other Let's Solve video series that I've done that I hate the they all did it solution, and I'm kind of blind to it. But I want to bring it up here. What do you guys think? Is there a chance that all the billionaires and the 5th bird are in on it together? We have certain members of the Clue Crew like Cicely who point out that Jay told Mabel that Nicky was found hanging. But remember, Nicky's body was actually found on the floor. Does Jay saying Nicky was found hanging, does that mean he was part of the cover-up, if not the killer in his own right? Or does that mean the official story still got out and Jay heard the official story? Who is the 5th bird? And is the 5th bird necessarily the killer? In many murder mystery type stories, the 5th bird, that 5th person would be the killer. What do you think? Who killed Nicky the Neck and Lester? Before we run down those suspects, let's look at what episode 5 taught us about the victims. First up, Lester. R.I.P. Lester. Lester filled out the invoices for the Velvet Room as Tommy, but we find out that Tommy the Tongue is a business that is listed to Lester's address. Is the business Tommy the Tongue? Was that a way for Lester to launder all the money he was getting from Nicky the Neck? I got great feedback from Zach, who mentions that Lester, in the flashback episode, shared some tips about how to help flowers that have wilted. And isn't Nicky's gardenia a flower that should have wilted if it was in the freezer? Did Lester put Nicky's gardenia in water to help it live? Nicky the Neck. We're told again that Nicky wasn't the thug that people made him out to be, that he made himself out to be. Sofia said Nicky was a sensitive kid, he worked for his family's dry cleaners, he wrote poetry, he tucked poems in Sofia's pants when they were at the cleaners. Somebody appears to have tucked something in Nicky's mouth, but let's ignore that. Sofia blamed her mother, Nonna, who didn't respect men who weren't brutes, and says Nicky became a liar and a cheat. The finger. In the Velvet Room, there are shrimp tails there, which of course were supposed to go to Oliver's wedding. Is this saying that the person there in the Velvet Room on the night of the murders was also at Oliver's wedding? Like Uma, like Randall, who was playing in the band at the wedding. And our final victim, R.I.P. LESTR. LESTR had a ranking system for every tenant in the building. I wonder if this ranking system had to do with people buying up apartments and how important it was to buy their apartment. I wonder if this ranking system meant something else. We're told that all of LESTR, the human being's paperwork, was uploaded into LESTR, the robot, as well as building gossip. And this is just my own crazy theory. Detective Williams notes that the Velvet Room really got cleaned up so well that she could eat food off it. Is it possible that LESTR, the robot, cleaned it up? And that robot is from our tech billionaire Bash, or just the billionaires in general. I tend to think it was LESTR who cleaned it up. What do you guys think? Now let's run down the suspects. I'm going to start with Mayor Tillman. Why is Mayor Tillman even in this show? He hasn't had any effect on the story, really, right? He's at the restaurant, I assume by coincidence. He offers his condolences to Sofia. He still wants to be on the podcast. And as far as I can tell, he has all his fingers. Romy's there. It sure looks like she has all her fingers as well. When will these two characters have any effect on the story? LESTR's wife, Lorraine. The only thing we know so far is that she was expecting Sofia. It feels like she must know Sofia. What is Lorraine hiding? Did she know about her husband's company, Tommy the Tongue? Tommy the Tongue, of course, working for Nicky the Nick. Maybe it was given that name because they feel they have to lick Nicky's boots. Randall. I thought it was interesting that Randall said he didn't start full-time until the same week that Robot LESTR started. So before original LESTR, OG LESTR died, Randall was just part-time doorman? Now, Randall claims he carved Die LESTR Die into the staff table because he didn't like the robot. But Randall was there, standing next to Howard when Howard explained that the robot didn't have the second E, LESTR. So are we supposed to believe Randall forgot that? Maybe carved it in before he learned the robot's name? Or does this prove Randall did carve it about OG LESTR? Randall is fighting back. He says he knows the tenants. He knows who has a pet, who forgot their umbrella. Randall is still wearing those gloves, so Randall could still be the person who lost a finger. But if you watch those gloves, they are acting like he has all his digits. So, I don't know if this is some weird attachment on his hand, but it looks like a real finger in that glove. Did the billionaires give him a robotic finger in the glove? I don't know, but it looks real. It behaves real in the glove. Bash Steed. Now, this is a fun little theory that's out there on the interwebs. If you look at Bash's hand, Bash has one finger where he wears this black ring on it. And people are wondering, is that to cover up where he had a different finger attached to his hand? Is this a fake finger, a new finger? Did Bash lose a finger and then have it replaced? We know he's got billions spent on his health. The Caccimelio Boys. They are at the restaurant. Their mom took them to a nice restaurant. They're trying salad. After dinner, they want to play Fortnite, but they're going to have to take the bus home if they all stick together. Now, Nonna didn't appear in this episode, but remember, we haven't seen her fingers. We haven't had proof that all her fingers are there. And her daughter, impressive mouth worker Sofia, really talks trash about her mom. Sofia appears to be lying when she says that she had no idea what Nicky was up to. Sofia also says her family was in construction, so it's like her family was really the mob family. What was her maiden name? Was it Caputo that we keep hearing about, the Caputo mob family? Vince Fish. I assume Vince is worried, and that's why he's siding with the robot over the humans, because he's got contagious pink eye, and he thinks his packages should be delivered by machines. Dr. Grover Stanley is also happy with LESTR the robot because a robot doesn't expect a tip like a human staff member of the Arconia would. And in a complete tinfoil hat theory, you ready? We find out Dr. Stanley has Crohn's disease. I googled Crohn's disease and shrimp, and here's what it came up with. For people with Crohn's disease, Shrimp is a nutritious and easily digestible lean protein that is usually well tolerated, even during a flare-up. New suspect Miller. I can't believe Gary's gone. Miller has been at the Arconia for 3 years. Miller knows everything about the people in the Arconia by what they throw out. What he threw out is LESTR the robot. Like many of the Arconia staff, he blames the podcast for turning their building into a murder building. Jose Torres is back. Oscar's dad. Will we ever see Oscar again? I don't think so. He's also sick of the podcast. And remember, I'm pretty sure he lived in apartment J in the Arconia. Ursula. Ursula's got gut milk coming out of her pores, and now it comes as a pellet. Online speculation is wondering if that white substance on Nicky the Neck's coat sleeve actually could be gut milk or gut milk pellet. Now, Oliver said it kind of smelled like paint. We're going to hope gut milk doesn't smell like paint. Ursula, as I mentioned in an earlier podcast, must have known about the Velvet Room and gambling. She wants a job in the Velvet Room. She thinks the end is near. Uma Heller is another resident who prefers the robot. If this season goes the way you think it should go, all these residents are going to realize that human beings are better than robots, and the Arconia will return to status quo. Howard Morris. Howard is so over trying to join the podcast trio. He is down with LESTR, and he makes himself comfortable in the basement in the staff area. We always have an eye on you, Howard. Number 237, Oliver from Flatbush. Oliver had an offer for his apartment, a generous offer. He threw it away, but maybe now he's not so sure. Who offered him a deal for his apartment? I assume it's the billionaires. Big Betty Grable fan Charles Hayden Savage. Charles is lifting weights, he's taking testosterone, he can open pickle jars, and he is completely Sofia pilled. Mabel Mora, number 1 in our hearts, number 4 in LESTR's processor. Okay, it's time for the tinfoil hat theory. It's going to be a short one this week. A lot of people online are speculating about the widows, the wives. Nicky the Neck's wife, Sofia, LESTR's wife, Lorraine. And some people are even pitching maybe it's a strangers on a train type scenario. If you don't know about Strangers on a Train, I don't really want to spoil it. Go to your parents' house and turn on Turner Classic Movies. But the easiest way to say it is both women were having trouble with their husbands. They helped each other take care of that problems. That's the big theory. I have suspicions about the wives, but I'm just not sure that the wives tie into the new New York versus old New York theme of the season. We're going to have a spoiler section right now. It's a slight spoiler section, but this was sent to me a couple of weeks ago, right after the first episode dropped, and I had already read episode titles, but somebody sent me these descriptions of the episodes. Again, I consider these slight spoilers. I don't think they ruin anything, but if you don't want to hear episode descriptions, which don't give away like who did it, then look at the timestamp below and jump forward to the feedback section. Now, next week, the image that was sent to me implies that the episode is called Flat Brush. I think that's a typo. Of course, I said Flat Brush on many of my earlier videos, but most likely next week's episode is entitled Flat Bush, where it says the investigation takes Oliver and Loretta back to the streets of his childhood, where buried memories surface and secrets about LESTR and Nicky's widows emerge. Mabel and Charles follow leads after a break-in. The 7th episode is entitled Silver Alert. The mayor warns the trio about the billionaires, sending them to investigate further at a villainous lair upstate, as Oliver boots it in an attempted escape. So maybe Oliver is captured. Next week, episode 8 is entitled Cuckoo Chicks. That's Cuckoo Chicks plural. We remember that Lorraine said LESTR called Oliver a cuckoo chick. Here's the description of episode 8. Mabel gathers a ragtag group to crash an exclusive ladies' night. While trying to save the Arconia from being sold, Charles and Oliver accidentally end up in couples therapy. Okay, the Arconia being sold. Certainly only a billionaire could afford the Arconia. Here we go. Episode 9 is entitled LESTR. That's once again the robot. It's without an E. The description is told through the lens of one annoying robot who may hold the key to more secrets than anyone realized. The Arconia throws one last party as the residents discover that a killer may still be in their building. Does that imply that the killer lives in the building? Now, this description didn't say what the final episode would be titled. People online are suggesting it's titled The House Always Wins. And to close up this very slight spoiler section, here's this image from Instagram, which is probably a cutscene. We see young Howard and young Lester at Halloween. I'm pretty sure we didn't see a Halloween scene in episode 2, and so this is probably a cutscene that was left on the editing floor. Now let's get to your feedback. Filmer Dude 24 wrote, in European folklore, the Eurasian jay is known as the trickster or gossip bird, which to me aligns pretty well with Jay and his family. Jay is deceiving everyone into thinking he's normal by dressing down, dressing poorly. He tricks Mabel. His family has done lead poisoning. Trickster-like behavior, if you ask me. Ooh, what do you guys think of Filmer Dude? He's saying that the Eurasian jay does describe Jay. A great loyal listener, Blue Pen Quinn, wrote, definitely sus when someone says they came back to where they lost their finger a week later. No one is going to be able to save that digit. Is that finger in Charles's freezer hanging out with Evelyn's paw from season 1? Oh, not sanitary. Blue Pen continues, the billionaires have access to the casino without Lester or Nicky. They all have their own key or else someone let them in. We got this feedback from Marie Chen. They wrote, a man, his wife, and no other witnesses than the fountain. Does that mean Lester and Lorraine's marriage was done without witnesses? Is this legal in the United States? Does it mean they aren't legally married? Maybe because Rainey had already been married, thinking of those babies in episode 2? Ooh. Kitty Chibi Waifu wrote, Althea seems so sus now because she lines up so much with the bird. Plus, there's a lot of focus with her and Mabel. But anytime I am sus on someone, it ends up being a red herring. A great detective Sharon wrote, all the people in the penthouse are usually innocent. That's true. Althea, the being in the penthouse now, does that mean she's innocent? What do you guys think? Guys, next week we're going to talk about episode 6, Flatbush. The investigation takes Oliver and Loretta back to the streets of his childhood, where buried memories surface and secrets about Lester and Nicky's widows emerge. Charles and Mabel follow leads after a break-in. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. The secret passphrase is semi-professional. Drop that down in the comments to let me know you are a top detective in the Clue Crew. I'll talk to you next week.